Hey guys, so it's been a second since I last filmed a video. This is mostly because I was not feeling great this week, so I just took a second to recover. But I am back, and today I did actually finish a book. So I was going to do like a little series spotlight because the book I finished is the latest in what's going to be a 7-book series. So, and I really love it. It's one of my favorite series. Anyways, I'm just excited to talk about it. And then I'm also going to have a small book haul. First off, I'm going to do the series spotlight because I'm very excited to talk about it. But the book I recently finished is The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. The reason it's very reflective and shiny is because it's a Goldsboro book. So I ordered it from Goldsboro, so they always package those books with protective lining. And then it also, see if I can find the title page. It's also signed by Samantha, and I have copy number 157 out of 750. So this, like I said, this is the 4th book in the Bone Season series. Eventually it's going to be 7 books long. This is the 4th. This is actually the collector's edition cover. So I don't remember if I mentioned this in my previous video, but this series has undergone a few cover changes. So originally it was similar like this. And then they changed them to like this very like white background, like similar design, but very like sterile. I was not a huge fan of that cover change. But after they did that cover change, they did still make these editions. They just called them collector's covers editions. And they only sold, I think, in like a few places. So that's part of why I ordered from Goldsboro. Aside from getting a signed copy, it meant that I could get a matching hardcover for my collection. And then recently, Samantha Shannon has done revised, re-edited editions of her books, and those copies have a totally different cover from both the cover change and these covers. So it's been through quite a few iterations. I do like the recent cover change. It's not bad. I think it keeps the tone of the book. I am a little sad that I will not have a complete collection of these covers. What can you do? These covers are my favorite of all of them. I just think they're very classic. I think they capture the book and the story really well. But at least I have the first 4, so that I guess will count for something. But yeah, really quickly what this story is about. We follow Paige. This is set in a futuristic London, well, futuristic society. We start out in London, but we travel to a few different places. Specifically, this book takes place in Paris. And in this alternate history future, it's set in like 2060, I think. And there's this sort of government entity called, I don't know if it's pronounced Scion or Scion, but they have started taking over like England and then Paris and other parts of Europe. And they basically deem all people who are born with magic, called voyants, bad, and they're trying to eradicate them. And so we follow Paige, our main character, who is a dream walker. She can go into other people's dreamscapes and take control of their bodies. Basically like possession. And so we follow her as she goes from working in a crime syndicate to getting captured and kidnapped by these alien creatures who are secretly controlling parts of Scion. And that's just like the brief premise of the series. I don't want to spoil anything. But this is the 4th book in that series, and I am so glad I picked this up now. So a little bit of context. The 3rd book, The Song Rising, came out in 2017, I think, and I read it when it came out. I first started reading the series after book 2. And so I read it when it came out, and then this book did not come out till like 2021, I think. And so it was quite a wait, because we'd been getting them, I think, every year, every other year. And I just didn't I ordered it, of course, but I didn't pick it up to read until now. So that's like, since the 3rd book, that's 7 years that I have spent, like, since I read the 3rd book. So part of me was wondering if I should do like a reread. But honestly, with the length of my TBR, I was like, I just don't have time. Like, I don't have time. So I basically just read some like reviews as a refresher. And honestly, I did remember most of the characters and the basic plot points. And then I was like, I'll catch up, I'll remember things. And yeah, it took a little bit, like maybe 50 pages, but then I was like, okay, I remember you, and I remember this happening, and such and such. And by the time I was like maybe not even a third of the way in, I was like, okay, I'm re-obsessed with this series, because I really loved it, like when I was reading it back in the late 2010s. But I just had forgotten how much I loved these characters and I loved this world. And I gave this 4.75 stars. Like, this is such a good series. I highly, highly recommend it. There's so many good characters, like the side characters you love, the main characters you love. Not to spoil, I think I said this in my last video, I can't remember, but my favorite character's name is Jackson Hall. And that's all I'll tell you. Just the morally gray character. A snake if you must, but like in the most intriguing way possible. I love him. I love him. Has he done horrible things? Absolutely. But like, he's interesting. So, yeah, I just really, really love this series. I cannot recommend it enough. It's an adult fantasy series. I know a lot of people know Samantha Shannon from Priory of the Orange Tree, because I think that got big on TikTok during like the pandemic era. I have those books. I have not read them yet. I would like to. I know they're very chunky, but it sounds good, and I'd love to read it. A small part of me has always been like a little bitter towards that series, just because she took time to write that series, and I think that kind of like delayed the progression of this series coming out. So I remember like when I first heard of it, I was like, I just want the Bone season. Just give me the Bone season. But I've gotten over that now, and I do want to pick up that duology. I think it's a duology now. I own them. I just haven't read them yet. So, but absolutely 4.75 stars. This ended on a cliffhanger, and I am not okay. Okay, Samantha Shannon, I am not okay. You cannot do that to me. You cannot do that to me. And luckily the next book comes out February 25th of next year. So I don't have to wait too long. If I had read this right when it came out, I would be in agony. I'd be waiting forever. So a part of me is a little glad that I waited a bit. But yeah, this is actually one of my favorite books in the series so far, which is saying a lot because I've enjoyed all of them. But yeah, this is the Goldsboro edition. It came with black sprayed pages. I have tabbed certain places when a certain character shows up. Just cuz. But yeah, really love this book. So I actually brought all of my, well, not all of my copies, because I have been collecting the revised editions, but since they were in this room, I just pulled out my original copies of the series, so I'll show you the other covers. So this is the 4th book, 4 out of 7, the most recent one published. And then I will start back at the beginning. So I actually have a ARC advanced reader's copy of the first book, The Bone Season. Which is really cool, especially now that she's revising the books. On her website, she just goes into detail on what she's revising and like why and all of that. So I don't think she's not changing anything major. I think just now that she's a more mature writer, like she wrote this series starting when she was 19, and now she's like, I think in her 30s. So she was just like updating some things just to make the whole series make more sense. Like small, I think it's basically smaller stuff, but I have to confess, I am glad that I have the original copies, because I could do a compare contrast, and I really like them how they were. So, but again, I don't think she's going to change anything that I wouldn't like. So the revised editions are just as good, I bet, if not better. So, but anyways, what I was saying was I just think it's cool that I do have like its original raw form. So yeah, this is the advanced copy of The Bone Season. A 6-figure blockbuster global marketing campaign. So yeah, it was. I know we have a lot of young sort of authors nowadays that get deals, but like back, I think this came out in like 2013. When did this come out? I think I read it in 2014, so it couldn't have been. Yeah, this is 2013, so I think this book came out then. Yeah, back then, like if a young author, like a 19-year-old, got a big book deal like this, it was made a big deal out of, like if you were young, you know. So yeah. This is a very interesting arc because there's like a folded flap that goes over the cover. So like here's just the plain book, and this is the original cover. And then this just goes on top of it. So that's interesting. But yeah, this is arc of the first book. So just as like a collector, I'm very excited to have this. So, and then here is the hardcover of the first book. So this is the spine. This is the mark of Scion, or Scion. I'm really annoyed that I don't know how to pronounce that. Most of me wants to say Scion, because I feel like that's how you pronounce like the word that means like prodigy or whatever, but I'm not sure, so I don't know. But anyways, here is the cover. I just really love this cover. I love the stark dark blue and the red contrasting. And I loved this first book. I really love this first book. It was so good. Of course, I read this when I was in college at some point. So again, I'd really be curious to do like a compare contrast reading with this book and the revised edition. If you're interested in like dystopian fantasy, this would be a good series to pick up. Yeah, this is the first book. Really liked that one. Like, loved it. And then my very favorite book in the series, even above The Mask Falling, which is saying a lot, is the second book, The Mime Order. I was reading Samantha Shannon's website, and I think even she says that this is her favorite book in the series that she's written, and I'm like, absolutely. I just loved this book. It's very interesting. I think she said, like in an interview, that each book she tries to make feel like it has its own sort of set genre. Like there's one that's sort of like a murder mystery, one is like a heist book, you know. And I can tell that when I read the books, they do have like their own separate sort of setting and feel to them, but of course still part of the larger story. It's just a really cool way of like writing a series, I think. And I loved this book so much. I mean, I loved The Bone Season too, but this book, oh my gosh. Like, if I really loved The Bone Season, then The Mime Order is what, like, really cemented the obsession, if that makes sense. I'm also really annoyed because I started reading this series after this book came out, and I think the pre-order benefit for this book is like a pamphlet that Jackson Hall, my favorite character, wrote in the series. It's like a pamphlet mentioned in the series, but like it was like a pre-order benefit that you could actually get it in physical form. And what I wouldn't give to have that. Like, I've searched high and low. I cry, but you know, small things, small grievances, but yeah. And this is actually my favorite cover, I think, of all of them. Probably just because I loved the book so much, but it made me biased. I love the dark spine and that moth. These moths, they mean something, okay? They mean something. Sorry, I have a habit of like pointing directly at you. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just impassioned. Oh, I love this book so much. Yeah, so that is the second book. And then the third book is actually the shortest of them all. And it is The Song Rising. Oh, see, in the in-between cover they made, like there was no purple. It was just like orange and white. And it was so like sterile, and I really didn't like the other cover for this one, so I'm very glad that I have this because the purple is beautiful. This is actually my least favorite book in the series so far. I didn't dislike it, but I, like, coming off of my high of reading the Mime Order, reading this next, I was like, eh. But I still obviously was very invested in the series, but like this just didn't live up to the hype of the second book, in my opinion. To me, it felt very much like a in-between book, even though like a lot happened in this book. Maybe that was part of my problem. Like it was it was shorter, and a lot happened maybe too quickly for my taste. I don't know. I'm very curious to give it a reread to see if I like it better the second time, because I've only read it once, so. Especially having just read the fourth book that comes after this, maybe I'd gain better insight or something. It's also really interesting. So like the main like love interest in this series, I loved them together in the first book. Like I was like, not that they were together, but like I was rooting for them in the first book. I was rooting for them in the second book. And for some reason, like I didn't root for them as much in this third book. Which part of why I didn't like it as much. I don't know why. Something happened and I wasn't as big of a fan of their dynamic. But then I read the fourth book and I fell in love with their dynamic all over again. So I'm just all over the place, you know. I don't know. But yeah, no, the main love interest and Paige, I love them together. Another thing is that in the fourth book, in The Mask Falling, the book I just read, I really loved the side characters. So again, in The Mask Falling, we're in a different setting, and so we kind of meet some new characters. Absolutely love them. I love those side characters. I would ride and die for those side characters. If anything happens to them, I will revolt. So, but yeah. Anyways, this is the third book. So yeah, I didn't love this one as much, but like Paige, our main character, she goes through a lot in this one. She really goes through it. It's kind of traumatizing, but yeah, even though it wasn't my favorite, I still really liked it. Like, I'm so here for the series, especially after reading this fourth book. I love these characters. So again, so that's my stack of the Bone Season books. These are 3 of them. I can't carry the rest because I'll just fall and break everything. So, but yeah, really love this series. I would recommend it a lot if you love, again, like I said, like adult fantasy, dystopian, character-driven, but also, like, I feel like it has a good balance of plot and character. And I love the writing. I think Samantha Shannon mentions this, but like, she sort of has a choppier style in the beginning of the books, and then it becomes more fluid as she, you know, hones her writing skills. So maybe if you're looking like to get the best version of her writing, the revised editions are probably like a good way to go anyways. So yeah, just would highly recommend that series overall. I'm glad I read the fourth book recently, so now like my fire for it is reignited. But yeah, so that's like my little series spotlight, but now I will get to my very short book haul. I only have like 2 books. I've said this before, but I have a couple like box set unboxings that I need to do, but they're in a room that I can't access right now. So as far as just separate books, these are what I have to haul. So without further ado, first off is this, I think it's just an illustrated edition of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a very popular series, so I'm sure you've either looked at it or heard of it at some point. When I say illustrated, I don't think like fully illustrated. I think it's just like a special edition. So it has these flames on the pages, which are really pretty. Again, I pre-ordered this from Barnes & Noble back when they had like a pre-order sale. I would shudder to know how much it cost this time. Oh my, 45. Okay, so the last big book I showed that I said I pre-ordered for to save money, I think it was like $30 or $35. This one is $45. For one book, I just, yeah. So I think, yeah, I had a pre-order sale for this one. I might have had some leftover like Barnes & Noble gift card money. I just know I did not pay full price for this, because even with my collecting tendencies, I wouldn't have done it. That's like book box money. Yeah, really pretty sprayed pages. It's got a bookmark, or a book ribbon, sorry. A ribbon bookmark, there you go. And the cover is really pretty. I have not read the series yet. I've had it for a while, but like I've just been scared to start it because I've heard it will like traumatize you, especially like the second and third books. So it's one of those series I just have like a lot of expectations for, so for some reason that like makes me scared to start it. But it is like my favorite subgenre of historical fantasy. I love historical fantasy, and I think this is like a fantasy, not quite historical, but like it has historical influences. So it's similar enough for me. So I just love that art. It's so pretty. I'm not sure if there's in-page art. Oh, there is. I haven't even looked at this yet. It's a pretty heavy book, so I'm hoping that means it's pretty well made. Yeah, really pretty. Glad I have it. Hopefully they mark it down at some point, because $45. Lastly, the second book that I had to show you today is... Sorry, I was removing the receipt. The second book is To Shatter the Night by Catherine Quinn. So I picked up, this is the second book in a series, and I picked up the first book when not long after it came out. I don't know why. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw, I think I was just at Barnes & Noble, and I'd seen someone haul it and said they really enjoyed it, and I was just like hyped up about that, so I picked it up. And then I didn't know the second book was out until I went to the bookstore today, and I saw it, and I had just sold some of my like DNF'd books, and I was riding high on that like $45 that I made, so I just bought this while I was there. Again, I guess kind of hanging on the hopes that I will like the first book enough to want to read this. So I don't know anything. I just know it's a fantasy. It might be a romance fantasy, like a romantasy type. I don't know. Let me look real quick. Of course, I can't look like too closely because this is a sequel, but it is fantasy from what I've gathered. You know, sometimes it's just fun to like take a chance on something to see if you like it, and this is a result of that. So yeah, it's just the sequel of that book. I think the first print run has sprayed pages. I know the first book had purple sprayed pages, but not by the time that I bought it. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of purple sprayed pages, unless it's like a very specific purple. I don't know why. I just feel like sometimes the purple that like publishers choose is a little too Barney for me, you know? Like, I love this purple. This is a great purple. I would not mind purple sprayed pages that are like this color. It's like a royal purple, you know? But sometimes it gets a little too close to Barney purple, in my humble opinion. But yeah, that is all I have for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Sorry this is going up a little late. You know, that winter cold, it came for me, and it came for me hard. So, I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you in my next one.